Like you don't want to do a whole like intro bit at the start,
I was
like in
about
video
to do it. I literally pressed the button and you about to do it. Okay. You know what? Screw it, we're going on. Hey, what's going on, guys? We're back with the first podcast since Buddy Fight died, I guess. I don't know. Well, I don't even remember when the last podcast time we actually did one, but we did it. And
Well, this is my first time on this show. I have no clue what you're talking
oh,
about.
you're right, completely. You're a hello person I've never met before. How you doing?
Oh, pretty good.
Yep.
You just picked some random guy off the street and like said you want to talk about card game. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
sure,
You
why
remind
not?
you just remind me of my old co-host. You know,
Mm.
Unfortunately, I couldn't find him. Last I said he was I don't know. He said he was moving to Jamaica.
You know, as we all do.
Yeah, so I just found you because I was desperate. And I'm like, okay, listen, I can't actually talk to any Vanguard YouTubers mostly because I'm a scared little boy. So I might as well just find this random dude on the street. So that sounded so weird.
So it's
That
like you
was
found some guy who doesn't even play Vanguard and said I had to drag him into a Vanguard podcast. Kind of weird, right?
Yep, totally. Anyway, welcome to the Divine Spoilercast for this podcast that may or may not exist in the future. I don't know. I am Zex, in case you don't know, because this is my channel. And with me, I have Zeta Zephyr. Say hello.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, so we're here to kind of talk about uh, the first and second season of Cardfight Vanguard DivineZ and give our overall thoughts on the show and kind of where it stacks up in the entire franchise. But first, give us a little bit of. We're gonna kind of give you a little brief update on how we are and you know what we do. So first, I'm gonna let Zeta take over.
Hi, I'm Zeta Zephyr. And a variety gamer, VTuber. I'm kind of only here because, like Zach said, offered a ham sandwich if I do. Just on White Coast, actually. Been watching a lot of Cardfight Vanguard. I guess I gotta talk about it now. Anything for that ham sandwich. That's all I gotta say.
All right. Yep. And I am Zex, which, if you don't know who I am a card game content creator, kind of. I have effectively stopped talking about the other card games for right now because all of them are in a tire fire, but there's more than that probably later. Uh, but hello. I used to do a podcast about almost a year ago, and unfortunately just stopped because just couldn't really deal with it at the time. But we're gonna. I've always wanted to try again, but here we are. And such, we are here to talk about the vines. But first, I've got a little, brief update. I have, for the most part, finished my plan of rewriting rewriting Vanguard Will Dress Season 3.
A rewrite, you say?
Well, kinda. More like yeah, it's a rewrite.
An edit?
A re-edit. A re-edit, rewrite, redo, whatever. A re-something, because holy hell, I need that season to be better than what it was. The one time I ever streamed my reaction to a season finale was the season 3 finale. And when I actually walked out of my chair from watching it, because I was in such pain, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I was like, okay. And it's made even worse because when the Vanguard Deluxe, the Will Dress D2 manga came out, you know that scene? I don't know if you watched it, but that scene at the end where it's Mireille versus oh my goodness, I'm tripping on my girl's name. Oh no. Oh, I'm so
Big
sorry.
ass, lot of names.
Uh, shoot. This is perfect. This is a great way to start a Vanguard anime podcast, in which I forget characters' names in the Vanguard anime. It's not
I mean, they all just
Tamari.
kind of start blending together.
Oh, Megami. Oh my goodness, there's so many M's. But yeah, it's Megami
Yeah, that's no problem.
and Megami and Mirai are having their fight, and we don't know what happens. It is made worse because the Vanguard D2 manga reveals that Mirai won that fight,
To the surprise of nobody.
which is like, right before their rematch in the manga, that's exactly what happened. I was like, ain't no way you really said her first real outing as the leader of Blackout is she loses to to Ray.
I mean, becoming leader doesn't make you not a jobber anymore.
I know, but it's like, man, oh, that's a whole man. There's a whole other thing to talk about. Just what happened to Wildress. I ain't never seen.
I mean, look. If you listen to people, Shin Yoshida was secretly ghostwriting all of Overdress and Will Dress.
No. Oh my god. Okay. For the record, people who do not watch any Yu-Gi-Oh series or seeing that, for the record, Shin Yoshida is a director, writer.
Lead, lead writer, yeah.
He was a lead writer for some seasons of the Yu-Gi-Oh anime.
Literally the last three of, literally, yeah, Zexel. No, he came on in the he came on post Dark Sign or Survive Ds. And then Zexel, Arc 5, and Vrains were all him.
I don't know if that was all of him. I think early Brains was someone else, and then he took over the back half because every after episode 14, because like oh my god they could not figure out what to do anymore. But it's still but the point is like whenever he writes all your female characters, something just goes wrong.
Oh, he wrote the start of Vrains. That's what it was.
He wrote the start. How that does not help me help me cope with how Reigns went in season 2.
Yeah,
Okay?
no.
But I mean, Reigns had Blue Angel, and Blue Angel was voiced by the same girl who voiced Mirai. So that brings us back to Cardfight Vanguard. On that topic, Cardfight Vanguard DivineZ Season 1 and Season 2. Give me your brief, non-spoiler thoughts on the show.
A market improvement from whatever the hell the dress seasons were.
Is that it?
It's good.
Okay. I don't know. I know it dropped on you fly, but I was like expecting just a little bit more, you know?
I know. I'm like, I don't have like a big speech about it. I'm like, I like characters. Good show is good.
All right. Well,
Card games are fun.
I'll put it like this. If this season, I'll put it like this. Put it there. If that first season of Vines didn't end up as strong as it did, there would have been a high chance. I won't say a high chance. I'll say like there would have been an dang. I asked you. You had a better response than what I'm trying to say. Okay, I'll put it like this. If DivineZ was on the same writing quality as well as the game up to that point for those sets, right? Set DZ1 and set DZ2. If we had continued down the same like line that Wildress had in both like card game and anime quality, there is a 80%, there's like a 70% chance I might have actually finally just quit the game.
Who doesn't?
Divine
That's not
saved
true.
my love for this game, and I can't even like begin to tell you how much that matters to me. Now, where we go from here is another story, but that's for a whole later discussion. On that note, let us begin by talking about Vanguard DivineZ Season 1, aka Fate Stay Night. And yes, there's probably going to be a lot of Fate jokes going on here, even though Zeta probably has never watched a single episode of Fate before.
Uh, I have actually.
All
I
right.
watched all of Carnival Phantasm and Lord El Malloy season, so I watched the non-Fate parts of Fate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Where's Nekoark from?
Tsukihime.
Damn it. Okay. You actually got it. You actually got it. You're not a complete poser. I, I'm glad. I'm glad you at least understood that. So, on that note, we start off with our plushie known as Gabelius, this random plushie who is hunting down the six. Who begins is kind of looking for six characters or six people who own the Fated Ones. Cards that are imbued with something that we later learn is the overall force of this generation.
It's all midichlorians.
Uh, mm,
Mm.
okay. I was trying to think of an actual phrase for it, but it's like, yeah, because, but I guess you can call that whatever. But, in the original /G, we had the Stride Force. In V, we had the Imaginary Force. And now in D, we have the Divine Force, which.
They really just need to stick to a name here. It's all the same mumbo jumbo.
I mean, true. To be fair, they have not gotten an actual name for what happened at the end of the series, right? Because we know that technically in the OG timeline it is differing, and we are still in the same lore bit, so
They're never gonna find some way to actually explain why this world's a reboot but follows the exact same world series of events as like the OG timeline, even though these events are all incredibly tied to their enemies, to your counterparts. So they're never going to figure that one out.
uh, I feel like if they reveal why it's, I feel like if they reveal why it's going to probably just be the most confusing mess ever. I'm almost certain of it because how on earth do you do that? To be like, oh yeah, we had Aichi Senno, Chrono Shindo, and yet we moved in some lane of the future where for some reason Cray elements don't exist in this world.
I mean, there's an easy solution to that.
And
Well, if happened.
that's not it. Okay.
I mean, the world the multiverse kind of got thrown into a mess after the whole like Vanguard getting erased from every single timeline deal. That lasted like all of like 3 minutes.
So are you implying that Aichi, that what happened in If was just enough to reset the timeline? And
If
like
it was a
close out
Vanguard
Cray?
Crisis event, yes.
Oh boy. What series was that? I don't know. That was a whole different thing. So anyway, so we have our six main characters. We have our main character, Akina Miyoto, our main female lead, now Inabe, which surprisingly I actually got that there. We have Mikoto Saito. We have Suo. I forgot his last name. That's the unfortunate thing of
Seems
doing
like
something for.
Yamitsugi or like something like that.
Yo,
I'm so dark, dude. My name's dark.
yo,
Oh,
Yotsugi?
Yobitsugi.
Yo, yes, that. And then we've got our two returning characters. In a shocking turn of events, they have not erased the overdress era from the timeline because very much they've decided to keep Taizo and Mr. Baldman.
Well, I mean, I can't get rid of Mr. Ballman. He's like literally locked in Bushroot's dungeon.
You say that, but literally Taizo's VA does the Tuesday streams alongside Megabee's VA.
Yeah, but like Masanori's been here for over, VA's been over here in there consistently for over a decade. He's in the basement.
Okay. I'm saying Monotakami and oh my goodness, I am bad at names today. I was gonna say her name, but it's like I completely forgot it. Shoot, I was gonna say something crazy like Lily Pichu or something, but I just don't know why. I'm like, where did it go? What happened? What happened, Mr. Brain? What's going on today? But yeah, like those two do the Tuesday streams, and of course they would keep them in some way because despite literally having no relevance to the entire plot, Megami is still in the show. Made top four at the second deluxe. Is just still working at a card shop. Has no idea what's even happening in the entire show. But it's still here.
I don't know what they're trying to do with her character. I don't think they know what they're trying to do.
I mean, I think I'm not one
They
for
gave
like,
they gave her they gave her the Zexo Katori contract, and they didn't realize what that entailed.
well, I'm not one to kind of like theorize or anything, but I do remember someone kind of joking about like, oh, they probably kept her in because well, she's getting bigger and bigger as like a actual like actor and whatnot. She was in the Common Rider special event and whatnot, so they're just probably like, well, we need to keep her on because once she doesn't do the Tuesday streams anymore, basically she probably be too expensive, even though she's on your payroll as a Bang Dream artist. But okay.
You know, that explained a lot of that. I mean, VAs being too expensive explained a lot of choices made in during the dress era.
We won't get to him yet. Also, I don't think that was an expense thing. I think that was a his agency was in the midst of trying to take out fires thing.
I'm also saying they blew all their budget on Donji, so they had to get their money's worth for like 3 seasons.
We really need to do that. That review. Alright, so we have our main 6 characters, and they all have the Fated Ones in their possessions, which are cards that have one goal is to. Excuse me. I am kind of going off the fly, off the memory, so I apologize. But yeah, they have one main goal, and that is to win a round robin tournament. Not round robin, like a randomly generated tournament where the winner will receive one wish of their choosing. Our main
Look, they needed like 2 more.
That's a whole different thing. But anyway, our main
Like,
character Akina effectively wants to gain the wish of healing his little sister Hikari because she has been sick for almost 10 years with a illness that no one knows why. And such, his goal is to just wish it away. So he has no choice but to learn Cardfight Vanguard, despite the fact he has never played before, but only knows it because his sister, Kazukari, is also a fan. Is a gigantic fan of the show. Known by the first episode effectively spoiling the end of the Will Dress D2 manga. And she cries over the actual ending, being happy that Raika won. And it's like, okay. That adds a...
The premise is starting to sound a whole lot like Duelist Kingdom and Joey.
I don't know about that one.
I don't know, you got like a guy who has no clue about a card game, so like, I gotta join this tournament, whatever, to go help my sister's mysterious enemy disease. And so it goes on a bunch of crazy shenanigans.
Oh, okay, I see what you kind of mean.
Yeah.
I never thought of it.
And he's super lucky, and he just like rolls for luck all the time, and it just kind of works out.
Now that you put it like that, that does kind of make a lot of sense. So, anyway, he gets help from his senpai who works at the same restaurant he does now, and he learns Vanguard. And this is where we get some backstory on Now, and Now is a wannabe pro fighter who has been like at the very, very like reach of actually making it pro, but something just always comes up and messes up with her, with her actually becoming a pro. Either because she just misplays a bit, because she, I don't know, just doesn't have it in her at the day, for whatever reason she doesn't know. So her wish is just to become strong enough to become a pro.
You ever find it weird or like that? Like, this is a problem with the dress, with like this era as a whole, but like, it's weird how they handle the whole like pro fighter thing. Like, you have like so many people trying to go pro and yada yada yada, and like treating pro as like a title or like something you gotta earn or whatever, but they never go into any of it.
That is a big discussion to kind of talk about, but you're not wrong. Like, it very much feels like they had this whole idea of, there's a pro system in this game. It's like, okay, cool. Are we going to learn about it at all?
At least G had the G quest.
I mean, it's not G had the G quest. It's that G had like multiple pro fighters and multiple like looks into the pro scene, right?
There was a semblance of a system.
I mean, even so, like today, like the fact that there's a manga. What was it? I forgot the turnabout manga that does go into Kai's time in Europe as a pro fighter, and having to like kind of deal with all that. Like, that's already more than what most of the dress era has done with pros, which
right.
But yeah, it's just pretty much like the dress series hasn't really dealt with the pro scene ever, so I think that's one of the reasons why probably Now like meant a lot to a lot of people, is that she's wanting to become pro. She wants to be a big strong Vanguard fighter in the pro scene, and like and that's why one of the reasons at least why people just kind of generated towards her, or like moved towards her, and why she's probably like the biggest Vanguard waifu since Tokoha.
I know we're burning on like biggest since Misaki tier here. I feel like.
I mean,
we're entering the sliced bread of Vanguard.
What does sliced bread mean? What does that mean?
She's bigger than sliced bread when it comes to the Vanguard community.
Oh, you mean she's obviously the basic waifu? Is that what you mean?
You ever heard like the joke about the Beatles are bigger than sliced bread?
I mean, yes. Oh! I get it. She's... No, I don't get it.
She's becoming the top.
I mean... Listen, until they actually make a figure of her or something, then I disagree with that. I think she's definitely the biggest of this era. To be fair, her only competition to this point was a literal blind child.
And Megumi.
A literal blind child. Let's be honest here. After Will Dress season 1, Megumi stocks went in the gulag. Same with Tamari. Considering Tamari did nothing. Oh, Tamari did nothing.
No, those stocks plummet at the start of Overdress season 2. Let's be honest.
I'm just saying, like, Will Dress did irreparable damage to all of Team Blackout somehow. To all 5 of them. It's insane how that entire trilogy just went into the gulag as bad as it did.
I mean, the dress seasons all suffer from blatant rewrites between every season.
I mean, I can't deny it, but at least the quote unquote rewrite between Overdress season 1 season 2 at least felt like they had a plan.
Outside of that first episode.
Listen, there's a reason they showed that one early and never again. There's a reason it's called episode 0. I like to forget that episode exists because holy hell, did they not know what they were doing? Oh.
I really want to know what was going on in the writer's room.
I don't know. But it's like, man.
Someone signed off on that. People were paid to animate that episode.
No, someone had to write the dialogue in which those voice actors had to basically say the weirdest things.
I think there's a reason Vanguard does romantic subplots for like 3 years afterwards, until literally now. As in just now.
I mean, Vanguard and romantic subplots has never been a thing.
They make bad attempts.
And honestly, the romantic subplot isn't really a romantic subplot because the idea is supposed to be she's supposed to be like, he's supposed to be the mentor, she's supposed to be the student, and she doesn't know what she wants, and then it just gets weird. And it's just like, what are y'all doing? Like, the fact that Overdose Season 2 came out as well as it did has to be because when they showed that episode that was supposed to be the start of Season 2, like, no, we gotta cut this down and actually retool a lot of this.
I feel like Overdrive Season 2 got saved entirely by, like, someone stepping in and saying, forget everything you're doing for the second half, tower climb.
Oh, that was...
Wrap everything, tower climb.
Oh, I'm completely certain that was Kadani. Because ain't no way we start by doing that. It's crazy.
Here's a dramatic season, like, and then it's like, tower climb. Amazing.
Yeah, but anyway, back to DivineZ. So yeah, now comes in and she is immediately like the darling of the community, which is perfectly fine. And then she loses the first Fated Class match against Akina, a little newbie, because he lucks out.
Yep.
Which I remember back when that happened, it was like people were already upset. It's like, wow. People got upset immediately. Were like seeing PTSD flashbacks to Megami.
The Vanguard fan base has been like on this since like Chrono. Like, if anyone is even slightly more experienced at Vanguard, the second the newbie upstart wins even once, it's the end of the world.
Mm. Well, listen, I want to do a whole video discussing about that first episode of the original G, and just how I think it was just a bad episode in hindsight. Because the more I think about it, the more I just go, man, that episode was not good. Of course, then again, that's purely because of just hindsight and seeing the literal same episode happen like 8 years later in Shinamon, and it's like so much better.
I mean, I would consider episode 3 of G the actual start of it, like, thematically.
Um, I need to remember.
The one with Ibuki.
Oh yeah, easily. Oh yeah, that's actually
That's where G actually really starts.
That is actually not a bad. It's not a bad reference there. I could see that. But anyway, back to DivineZ. So then we get introduced to our next technically match, which is between Taizo and the first, and I mean first because let's be honest here, what's her name in Will Dress does not count. Our first actual lyrical monasterio player since Saya and her two idol friends in G, and even then, technically, Saya's mama in Shinamon, which is Mikoto Saito, the first Bermuda Triangle / lyrical monasterio player that actually has a stake in the plot.
Stake in the plot, stretching it.
You know what I mean? Like, she actually has a point in the plot. She is a member of the main cast. She's
does she now?
Listen, let's be honest here. Come on, man. I'm trying here.
I know you're trying, but let's be a little honest.
Listen.
She is the bench warmer.
Damn it, you're kind of right. I'm not good. Oh no, I'm just thinking about like what does she have in the overall like season 1, season 2, right? Taizo's related to the plot twist of season 1. Now is related to the final plot twist of season 2. Suo is the main antagonist of season 1 and connected to the events of season 2. Masanori was almost her thing, and then all of a sudden they brought Jinky in and revealed that Masanori had a rival.
Masanori's character, like, quote unquote shift in DivineZ is actually really interesting.
It kind of is, but I feel like we'll talk about it when we get there, right? So
yeah.
Anyway,
yep. Because it's got nothing going on besides playing Vanguard DZ and
being an idol.
Dear Days.
And being an idol, but she doesn't really do much of that.
She's the Dear Days rep.
Which, can we talk about just how actually like blatant that is? Just like, yeah, let's just entirely just have an entire segment of where one of our characters plays online Vanguard. How do they play online Vanguard in a simulator that isn't even updated with those cards?
Yeah, isn't it
like
great?
It's hilarious. I remember when we ended. It's so painful because I remember when Will Dress season 3 ended and we had that shot of Sam, the only black man in this franchise. Who was an FBI agent who should have been out here helping us,
CIA agent.
CIA, FBI, LMNOP, whatever. The fact is, the
Three-letter agent.
Negro was doing nothing but sitting down and playing video games while the world was in danger.
I mean, that's what I would do if I was part of a 3-letter agency.
He was the one on the case. He
Yeah,
doesn't
the case
show
got
up
solved
at all.
Yeah, and a bunch of teenagers solved the case. I'm gonna play some Vanguard. Like, look, it's either people just chilling Deer Days, or it's brains leading directly into Duel Links.
That's a different story. You know, it's a whole different thing, right? Because brains leading to Duel Links, one thing took 7 years, and two, there is no like alternate Deer Days timeline in which we're going to actually like have a digital world game, right? The only thing that's different is the fact that technically Deer Days is canon to Overture Season 1 and 2. And Deer Days 2 will somehow be canon to DivineZ again. Oh.
I mean, it beats what they're doing with EX and like the plot turning into Space Jam like midway through.
Oh, you mean Vanguard EX? I was like, wait.
Yeah, Vanguard EX turning into Space Jam.
I don't remember. You see, the problem with Vanguard...
The rogue AI took all our Vanguard abilities, and now we got to get them back.
I didn't even. Damn you for making me think of that. I'm like, what? I didn't even know what was going on in that game. I'll be completely honest with you. Yeah. I was playing the game, chilling out. I completely didn't even know what was happening in that game until you just now say that. I'm like, there's no way that's really what the plot was. No, it's not just the plot of... It's the plot of Space Jam 1 and 2 combined, if you say that.
Yeah.
Alright, so... Anyway, we have Mikoto. You know, my personal favorite, because, you know, she's just a goofball. She is effectively the gremlin, the first gremlin. And it's actually really nice. She has a relationship. She has a online rivalry with Hikari, because Hikari literally can't get out of the bed for more than 5 days. And so they fight online, but they never meet until Akina actually runs into her going into the card shop and learning how to build the Vanguard deck IRL, which is actually a nice little scene. I appreciate it. I'm glad they had a little like offline to online transfer in the show. Like, that's appreciative.
Yep.
Even though literally her first fight on screen is to beat Megami again.
Isn't it great?
Shut up. On that note, she then fights Taizo and loses. We then also know that Taizo also didn't even want to be in the tournament. He just only entered because the masked person, who is on screen right now actually, specifically said, you know, I want you to enter in and beat Akina Miyoto. Why? I don't know. Speaking of which, we haven't even talked about the masked person. The masked person has shown up and has said, has been getting people who are in the Fated Clash specifically to try and beat Akina Miyoto. For what reason?
I don't like this guy in particular.
Yep. So that's why Taizo, however, for reasons we don't know, Taizo asked for an actual reason to believe them, and they take off their mask, and we don't see who it is until much later in the show. But details the suit. He joins the fight. He beats Mikoto. He now fights Akina. And probably the most crazy fights in the entire show. Everyone's going, wait, what is going on? Why is he not healing? You know, where's his heals? He probably can't deal with heals and everything. It is revealed that Akina built his deck specifically for a rush combination in which he does not run a single heal in his deck. Which is why, which explains why he's running cards like the grade 2 ride line for Hexa Orb, running other cards. He's just scrying for triggers to try and beat Taizo.
It's kind of just solidifying my, like, he's Joey Wheeler case. That was the moment.
I can't believe you brought this idea up of, Vanguard DivineZ is Duelist Kingdom, but Joey was the protagonist the whole time.
And he even got the win on the richest guy there by just going full idiot.
Okay. Yeah. I have nothing else to say there. Anyway, so yeah, he beats the pro fighter by just going full idiot. Which is now already making the masked fighters plans backfire because oh no, this has already gone wrong. At this
shoot, this guy might be the protagonist.
Yep. So now we have effectively a really good break episode in which now gets to fight one of the characters from Real Dress Season 1, the Galactic B Hero player, who is voiced by Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen, for a spot for another chance of being pro.
Gojo's VA keeps showing up in a lot of interesting roles.
I mean, hey, only getting work. Can't deny that.
He played the Red Ranger in Ranger Reject, and I found that like the perfect casting.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of Rangers, have you looked through that Heritage? Have you looked through that auction yet?
I have not.
Okay, so right now, besides the Astro Mega Ship that they used for promotion for in space, the next highest thing on that auction is the Cosmic Fury Red Ranger suit.
Wow.
Why? Because the actor for the Red Ranger in Cosmic Fury is kind of like, you know, I kind of want my suit, considering they never gave it to me.
Yeah.
You know, I would like it, and then a whole Streisand effect happened, in which now it's the second highest thing on the.
They're trying to keep her from getting her suit back.
Which is really it's not really like her fault. More so like a bunch of fans are like, you know, if you try and like get the suit, you're an a-hole for trying to, you know, prevent her from getting the suit or bid on the suit. The actors should get their suits, and it's like, and there's also like a whole thing about between like if you're an a-hole for doing it, other people going like, there's nothing wrong with people bidding for the suits. They wanted it. If anything, you should be upset at Hasbro because they didn't give the suits to the actors. If they were really just like, yeah, we're done with this era of Power Rangers.
You know what? If no one bids on these like 5 grinder suits from RPM for like 500, I might just snap these up.
You know, I mean, the funniest thing is seeing seeing the Kruger suit, and it's just like, oh my god.
I just want like a set of 5 minion suits.
Okay. But yeah, it's like
seeing what you can do with those.
Like seeing the Kruger suit, and it's just like this. It looks like he's seen better days. And it's like, oh boy, I feel bad for you, buddy. But anyway, this is a Vanguard podcast.
You know, whenever I'm here, this is a general podcast.
But anyway, so we go in, we take that one episode breather, which I appreciate considering things that happen later on in season 2. But anyway, we go back to the fighting. We have, I think it's either this episode or like the episode before. No, it is the next episode where we finally get Masanori back into the story, and he fights Shinobu again because Shinobu is just upset because, man, you left me after still with the uniformers and they were boring as sin. What is wrong with you? Even though he technically left the uniformers in season 2. I mean, even though Shinobu left the uniformers during season 2, so he's just been waiting 2 seasons for a run back.
The uniformers plot was a mess.
We know, but we can definitely talk about that at a different time. But yeah, so that was our second real reference to everything outside the vines. Meanwhile, Akina takes Suo to his home, bathes in his bathtub, and walks out his bathroom when Suo's uncle comes home. In the weirdest, there's totally a heterosexual explanation for this. In which we get but the whole point is to be the backstory of Suo, which is his parents died in a crash, and I forget, it was either like Suo was also part of that crash or he had found out, but after that event, he was so traumatized he lost all his emotions. And so he just had nothing. And I guess
we need.
Oh, sorry.
We need to revive the Misaki plot again.
I mean, I think this is different because the Misaki plot. Well, I mean, this is definitely went further than Misaki plot. No, Misaki plot was she's just an uncaring teenager, which, I mean, technically in 2 versions of her. In one hand, it's like, I don't get how you. One hand, it's like, oh, they perfectly make sense. And then in in V, it's very much like okay, this is fine. And then we see Shinamon, it's like, so is what happened to Misaki basically that Shin basically just effectively became a gooner and she just got tired of him?
That is a reading of it, yeah.
Which, aww. I mean, to be fair, like, Misaki fights, and for some reason he has the two children try to imagine Misaki as Lodge's Magus. Yeah,
I think after a while, Shin went from "I can't do this." I need to find an heir to the throne.
I don't want to think of that. I mean,
Shin's like sucks.
Oh yeah, no, without a doubt, Shin is actually kind of sucks. I mean, Shinamon is actually funny because it's actually like I guess you could kind of look at it as like kind of a not a deconstruction because that word's been overused. More like a plot twist, a shift on the harem plot line of, oh, here's the main character. He's got effectively 3 girls all after him in some aspects. And then he ends up with none of them. One becomes his boss.
Call it a deconstruction.
I mean, one becomes Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
There you go.
No, I mean, I would still call it like a deconstruction. Maybe not with a harem job, but like just card game plots in general.
Hmm. I mean,
Like we start with from the jump, right? It's already telling you maybe he's not in the right, and then his hero's journey just kind of ends in failure. As we see him like try every single like from the power of friendship to winning the big tournament that ends up not even mattering in the end intentionally. From I'm going to try to do it all, kind of sort of just lucks out on one of them and then tries to do the other thing and it just he can't do it anymore. Like deconstruction is a fair way to put it
mm,
because it does bend those tropes around
yeah, I guess you
to a
could say it.
significant degree.
I guess you could say that very much. Well, I'm just kind of talking about the harem-y aspects of like, oh, he doesn't get the girl. One ends up, uh, one ends up having a life that she has to provide for. If anything, like you think about it as like one it becomes his boss. One gets almost an even harder life because she's also a business person and also has to deal with taking care of a child. And then one just ends up hating his, kind of upset and kind of hates his guts somewhat, just because he didn't change. There's a lot you could talk about. We could do a whole episode on shit. There's a whole like bunch of things we could do with Shinamon, which is kind of funny. But anyway, back to actual Vanguard itself.
It's what the shortest and the deepest Vanguard season so far.
Uh, it's not the shortest. It's nowhere not the shortest. Definitely up to that, up before we got to 12 episodes, like dress era. Definitely, if was the shortest. Because
How long was?
if was like 15 episodes.
No, it wasn't.
Was it not?
Was it?
I can't remember. I'll have to look up later, but very much like it was probably if at some point. Anyway.
Okay, it was like 25 episodes. All right, it was.
No,
This
in
one,
that case,
yeah.
then the shortest was 12 episodes. In the case, the shortest was G-Nex and Strygate. I mean, Gears Crisis and Strygate. Then, unless you want to combine them together. Anyway, we gotta get back on track. It's been almost an hour. We haven't even made it through season 1. But anyway, the whole point is now we have come to the point where we're in the effective semi-final match in which Masanori is going to face Suo. And at this point, the masked person is so desperate, they want to say to Masanori, you have to beat Suo. Yes, the fate of whatever the masked person's plan is relies on Masanori. They were that desperate, you knew it was going to be bad.
Look, sometimes you gotta make a deal with Satan, alright?
Well, Satan didn't help his part of the deal because Masanori gets clapped almost immediately. Mostly because Zorga's trash, but also because we get to see Suo's divine skill on Blankmeyer, which is literally you cannot guard this in a format where it's already hard to guard regular numbers. Remember, one of the best decks in Vanguard for a time was a literal cat girl that just said you can't use PGs. And it was one of the best decks in the entire format for a time. Didn't even have hard numbers. Just straight up said, you just can't PG me. So, a deck that gained said more numbers and says you can't PG me against a deck that has no defensive abilities at all, because all of this deck has to be his orders. Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, D did just cut the numbers in half.
Uh,
For defense, then double the offense numbers.
okay. So,
Of- I love D. Clown World.
but anyway, Suo wins, and so the finale, the final fight of the Fated Clash is Akina and Suo, in which case the masked person almost decides to crash out, but they hold on, and they finally decide to reveal who they are to Akina to be like, hey, you need to quit right now. You need to actually stop playing the tournament and quit right now. Otherwise, you will die. And it's like, okay, so who are you? Why have you been bothering us? And why on earth do you keep wanting me to quit this thing? In which then the masked person reveals himself to be dun 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 Hikari from the future. That's
Dun
right.
dun dun. Dun.
Yep, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. In a shocking turn of events, the main character sister is actually the real boss of the season, technically.
We're back on the time travel stuff.
Yep, we are back in the G era. We are so back. But what has happened is that in future Hikari's timeline, I don't know. Should we keep calling her Hikari? Should we move to her other name, just to prevent annoyances?
I mean, if you want to use the common notation, F. Hikari.
That's even worse. Fine. We'll just keep calling her future Hikari, I guess, right now. But yeah, future Hikari reveals that in a different timeline, he went missing for 3 years. In which case, she then found out that what happened was that he loses the final match against Suo. The Fated Clash happens. He loses the final match against Suo. And Suo says, I have no wish. I have nothing. And the wish, Blankmeyer consists that as an actual wish and effectively nukes the area where the Fated Clash happened. And even though it is not officially confirmed, it is almost 99% positive that Suo winning and not having an actual purpose leads to the death of everybody except Taizo, who, remember, Taizo didn't even want to be in the tournament, but he was only did it as a thing for the masked person. And so, bam, everybody dies. An idol, a monk, a upcoming pro, and 2 random school children just all go missing at the same time. And I guess for 3 years, no one cares. Because the most important one, I guess because the most important one, Taizo, is still alive. Even though he's working himself to death.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So 5
no one's gonna worry about a monkey going missing in the woods. That tends to happen. Oh, an idol and like a bunch of students.
To be fair, she wasn't even active at the time anyway. Who cares?
Right.
That's crazy to think that technically her fighting Taizo potentially restarts her idol career. Meaning she ends up she ends up becoming the idol she wanted to be anyway, just because Taizo came back into the picture. Which I think is actually a lot more interesting than I thought now. So, like, literally the future changes off of that, we didn't even know it. Which now leads to the whole thing of, well, how on earth is Taizo helping out this masked person? And, well, if their face reveal is that, oh, it's Hikari from the future. Future Hikari just said, hey, this is my my room name in a hospital. Take this pudding. It's my favorite. That's how you'll know it's me. and that's why when
The
we see
the
Taizo
entire
before,
plot, the entire plot of DivineZ hinges on Tyza going, "I'm about to drop everything I'm doing to help this teenage girl out."
yeah, it kind of is that, which is why the awkward ship between her and Future Ikari is him and Future Ikari is also kind of like I get it. It technically is a wholesome connection, but also that is still a 17-year-old girl, 17-year-old traumatized girl, and a 24-year-old.
It makes most.
It somehow, despite everything, makes more sense than Donji and Megami. But even then, no, we're just gonna cut that out right now.
Consider the following, Zex. It's either that or incest, as far as DivineZ is concerned. You almost have to pick your poison here.
I'd rather shoot myself before I do that. I choose neither. I give myself my own poison. Lead. Because, yes, I also know the alternate thing is potentially incest. I've seen the artworks as much as I didn't want to. Oh, God, the art. Like,
you saw the artwork. I'm talking about that last scene in season 2.
there's a lot of things.
They did not have to draw them that well for that shot.
I mean, it's a beautiful shot. Let's not say it, but yeah, I mean, it works because it technically is like an emotional payoff to the whole arc, right?
Yeah,
But we're
but
also
then they gave Akina the full clamp face and the sparkling lights, and you just got to go, huh?
anyway, we're not even close to there yet, so we gotta go back. So now we come to the
It's
reveal.
like time travel.
Yes, back to the time travel part. Future Yukari in the future, excuse me, when all of a sudden this Gabrielius, the plushie, who we have failed to mention existing, who has also been, also goofing around in the background, eating bananas with no mouth, uh, also tries to hold the Fated Clash again. But this time, Hikari enters after being entirely too mean to Gabrielius and wins the whole thing and uses her wish to go back in time to stop uh, the fate of Akina, in which she will die assumedly. So yeah, that's how we get here. Which I gotta say, this is probably the most tightly written plot line for uh for Vanguard, I think, in a hot minute. And it definitely
Yep.
is even better by the fact that, yes, I understand having time travel plus magical wishes in the entire lineup means it's like, well, why did she go back? Why did she just not wish for the defense to not happen? And you could say that, but it emotionally makes a better story if she then just comes back and tries to do it, I think.
I mean, what's the alternative? She goes back far enough to toss Swo's cards in the ocean?
I mean, it doesn't really matter because she'll get Suo will get his cards regardless.
Right.
Like, the only thing she could do is like stop the actual accident, or even funnier, go back in time 10 years before the start of the series. But I don't think she knew
Yeah.
that, and the one, I don't think you
No.
would know that, and two, uh, I think a certain something would prevent that from happening.
Right.
So there's just a lot of layers to it. That I was like, okay, you know what? You actually have something cooking here.
Yeah, this works out.
So now Akina and Future Ikari have to fight because Future Ikari says, you know what, if I win, you jump out. And if Akina wins, you can fight Suo. I don't know what's gonna happen. In which we get to see the seventh fated one, Liela Morta, which is pretty cool. Who also doesn't help because in the lore, Liel, the unit, is a dead unit who died in one of the many wars of Krei, and was Reziel's lover, which adds a lot of weird implications to a lot of things. Again, the artwork.
The writers know what they're doing. They know. I don't like it, but they know what they're doing.
So, Akina wins by once again betting on luck and using an order and winning. So now we go into the final fight in which Akina and Suo have a combat. And I think this is probably like the weakest segment of the story because Suo just kind of like starts to kind of regain his humanity throughout the fight. And it's not as strong as like the rest of the season, I think, but I think it's also plus by the fact that for over the course of the season, Akina has been, looking after and helping Suo at times. So like the build up of that
Doesn't
relationship does
help.
work.
I mean, it doesn't help that like Swo's kind of a plank.
I'm sorry?
Like Swo's a bit of a plank for most of season one. It like Akina's bouncing off of a brick wall.
I mean,
Up
true.
until the final fight.
I mean, that's true. But at least it's like,
It makes for an uninteresting antagonist, I guess.
that
If
is
you can
true.
call him.
But very much is like, at least we know that they have a connection so that this part can at least make sense.
There was build up.
Yeah, there's build up. Even if Suo himself is uninteresting, Akina wanting to help Suo feels genuine.
Right.
And knowing that like if he fails, like everyone dies or could die is the whole thing. Which also leads to another like really good positive is that I remember because again, everyone except Suo knows that the fate that happens if Akina loses is that everyone in the arena will die. They will be turned to nothingness and presumably die.
They could have
Despite
just told him if you think about it.
yeah, they could just leave. But because the show has shown that all of them, including Masanori's crazy self, weirdo self, have all kind of like understood the whole thing of actually bonded together
We need the peanut gallery at
and
all
whatnot.
times.
They actually decide to come because they're like, you know what? If we die, we die, but we believe in Akina strong enough that we're willing to risk it. And I think that's actually really a strong moment in the show because it's like, oh yeah, it's so nice to see the characters actually like connected and willing to fight together for once and have reasoning for it. Will trust season 2. I'm sorry, I had a cough. I need to take a cough drop. Anyway, so we get to that final fight, and Akina wins because he gains Liel Amorta, who has a skill specifically designed to counter blank fire. Is it the Suo hate wasn't enough? And so Akina wins. Just barely, but he wins. And gets his wish to heal his sister, his regular Hikari. I guess you could say Hikari Prime, I guess we could go. However, because this is supposedly done, the future Hikari starts to fade away from existence. And we never see her again. But we can just only assume she went back to her home planet. So that is Divine Season 1 in a nutshell. We've obviously skipped over a lot of things, and I apologize, but, that is the gist of it. So, what were your full thoughts on Divine Season 1?
I mean, it felt like an apology for like the past like 5 seasons. Like we have a focused plot. It's there's no like I don't know. It's focused, I guess would be the best part to put it. It's more than you can say about most of the other D era seasons.
Which, now I can add this now. Yeah, a interview with Kidani kind of actually says that Divines is still part of the dress era. We're still not out of dress just yet.
Right.
So we're actually like still in dress. Which is very funny when you think about it.
I will say, for the sake of retroactively, like however long from now, I will say this shows this season one's biggest flaw is that there's 3 more seasons after it.
Why do you say that?
Because we all know what happened to GF once we got 2 extra seasons appended after a good story.
I mean, I okay. I guess you could kind of make the whole discussion about in general. It's like what happens when the characters have finished like their overarching story arc, because technically,
Like we had a
right? Because like you think
season one
about,
is a nice self-contained story.
I mean, because it's like you get to overdress, and technically overdress season 2 is a really good closer to the build up that overdress 1 had, and then will dress proceeds to decline harder than the MCU.
Right.
Link Joker is a good conclusion to the
I was
first three
just about to
seasons of
mention Link's
Vanguard, and
Joker.
then Legion Mate just has to like find a reason for it to keep going because they didn't have things ready.
Stride gave us the perfect finale to the G era prior, and then they had to continue it.
Yeah, I think the only thing that's different is that V is the opposite, in which the seasons that came after its main story were just better than it.
Like V learned when like V had like the third season is weird because like the third season of like V is when the shift really happened.
You mean high school arc or the high
High
school?
school continued
Yeah, high school continued. Yeah,
because like that's the exact point where they realized this is not going to be a Vanguard story. Like V era shouldn't be about like Aichi and the cast, right?
well, I
V
mean,
is more like the story of Vanguard, if that makes any sense. Vanguard is the main character of the V era.
it is just kind of funny how it's like, oh man, the first half of high school arc is actually really good because it's about the fallout of the side quality zombie arc,
Right.
and then a second we get back, we actually do the quotient. It's the worst part of the entire show.
Like High School Arc continues only quote unquote flaw is that the tournament literally didn't matter and they made it very apparent the tournament did not matter and that you're a dumb watcher for assuming the tournament mattered. And people just couldn't handle it.
I mean, to be fair, having a normal tournament arc in a card game anime does sound enticing. It is just like, dang.
You don't want the tournament. You
I,
don't want it. Ito said you don't want it.
it's just, the problem is there's too many characters that don't matter. Like, as much as the student council does not matter, And even though Maki became a fan favorite out
I
of
mean,
nowhere,
you can say that about OG Vanguard.
eh, I don't know. I feel like the difference is like it was supposed to show their growth and whatnot, we're but that's before. But the difference is like the timelines were different because when we did the Koshin stuff, it was like more like we were still on the same flow, we were still on the same aspects, right? And then all of a sudden, then we get to the end of Link Joker, where
Oh,
now
your
we've
mic has
reset the
been like cutting
timeline.
off.
Huh? Oh, I'm sorry.
I feel like
Sorry.
your mic thing. Yeah, it's been like cutting off a bit.
Has it been the whole time, or is it something different?
I think it might be the whole. Eh,
It was just this
it
time
might
for
have been
most,
me. Hopefully,
because I'm still seeing myself actually, here. It could be a Discord thing. I don't know.
might be a Discord thing.
Yeah, but it's like you have, but yeah, it's like the the quotient takes place after all the, the high stakes plot. So it just feels so. It's kind of like, does this really matter? Like all the interesting stories are about like how everyone's dealing with the fallout of basically getting turned into zombies or losing their love of Vanguard and trying to get it back, right? Like
Yep.
Tetsu, like the whole thing of like Kyo and Rekka fighting each other, trying to like be like, okay, how do we, Kyo trying to find that like will to fight again, with Kamui and Tetsu both helping him, and Rekka being there. It's like that's a great story. Having, I know it's controversial, but I think honestly the way they handle Kai's backstory in V is just honestly much better in my opinion, or rather, I think it just
I mean,
works.
I in general is a better character in V.
Like that might be a controversial take, but I think a lot of characters aren't as good in V, but I think Kai, especially in that segment, is a much stronger character. It's like, oh yeah, that definitely, like he's cool, but I don't feel like he had like a lot of depth to him, or rather, that depth kind of got lost with time. You know,
Yeah, I'm like we gotta admit at some point. Shoot, what's the name of that character?
Suiko.
No, Kai is just Kai from Beyblade. OG Kai is just Beyblade OG Kai.
Oh my god. Okay. That you're gonna say. That you're gonna bring up the biggest controversial take.
The edgy guy with the edgy guy with a lot of problems, who's like the one asshole on the team that's like the hard carry and everything, and like there's like soft rivalry going on between him and the blue main character.
Why do you point out things that just make me like turn to stone? I thought you were gonna say what I was gonna say is like, if if uh if corn is probably my favorite corn, probably like the best corn in my opinion.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's the conversation for another time. Now we gotta get on to season 2. I can spend a good 10 minutes on the seasonal tangent. So season 2 takes place, I assume, a few months after everybody's kind of going on with their day, kind of starting to work on their individual goals. Meanwhile, Suo is just playing Vanguard and wants to fight everybody because he's become a crack fiend for the card game. And then, out of nowhere, a boy named Kuon comes in and transfers to Akina's school and says that he knows him and Suo. And then they meet, and then they get a meeting to talk to Gabrielius uh, inside a restaurant. Masanori scares Makoto, And we find out the real reason of the fated clash is that Gabrielius is obviously from Cray. He's admitted this, but the whole reason he did it is because he's doing it to effectively hunt down this being known as Sibylt, who has come to Earth, and why Gabrielius has a stake in it is because Gabrielius' entire race effectively got corrupted by Gabrielius' powers and effectively destroyed each other.
Yep.
So he is effectively very, very upset and wants to run the fade.
Right.
So now we get to the other thing is that Kuon then sends a picture of the arena of the fated clash and says, "Hey, come on over." And this is where we
7
go
p.m.
from
behind the dumpster.
Yep. And so this is where we go from Fate Stay Night to Fate Apocrypha, in which now Sibylt has now revealed himself and said he has now taken the divine force that Gabrielius was holding and has decided to create a new fated clash known as the Destined Showdown, in which he has chosen 6 new destined ones, which are effectively those with divine skills, and he's going to have them fight each other.
What's next? The Chosen Kerfuffle?
I don't know, man. The picked out conversation. But yeah, so now we've got Kuon. We have Senka, a character who was teased in the first season of Vines, who is Nao's childhood rival. We have what's his name? Who has been slightly teased over the entire series and actually works for Taizo as his assistant and part of his team. We have, was it Yuna? I think it was Yuna.
Yeah.
Yes, Yuna, who is a big fan of Mikoto, even though up to this point we have no idea why they have a connection together. We have Jinky, who has returned from Wildress for some reason because he was connected to Masanori, though at the time we didn't know how deep the connection goes. We just thought they worked together.
Mm-hmm.
And our final character, which is revealed to be Hikari Prime, who now wields Liel Odium, which means this is talking about more so, I think the translation for Odium is like anger. So yeah, this is Angry Liel, who has been in the lore revived somehow and is actually like more antagonistic.
And this is where we encountered the first problem, the biggest problem with Divine Season 2. Half these people don't matter.
I know you were kind of mean to Makoto on the whole thing. Makoto doesn't matter, but you're kind of right with this one. Like, half these characters don't matter. Like, I think one thing is not only do they not matter in terms of the grand scheme of things, they also just don't have time to develop as overall characters.
Right.
Like, they each...
But you can't just double the cast up and just expect it to work out.
Like, I think one of the things about Season 1 was that each character, theoretically... That wasn't a returning character. Theoretically got 2 independent episodes.
Right.
And then anything else was more so, like, free stuff or moving the plot along, right? The Now episode was really good for building the rapport with the actual cast, right? Because that's like 4 or 5 characters connected together. Then like other episodes allowed the cast to really like talk and discuss with each other about what they want to do, what they're doing, how, it built the rapport. Whereas episode 2 to what? 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hold
To,
on.
you good?
Yeah, I was switching headphones real quick.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, so episode 2 to 5. No, 2 to 6, excuse me, is just one episode in which their entire backstory has to be shoved in. Not only their backstory and their reasoning for fighting has to be kind of shoved in, and then we gotta move on. with the exception of Kuon, which we'll get to, and Jinky, who's spoiler, because Jinky has Gi still residing in him. When Sybil tried to take control of him, Gi basically took the blast instead, and because Gi is an AI who is not real, it didn't work. So Jinky has been a sleeper agent, a double agent the entire time.
My, how convenient.
Which is then we get to the plot line of there's probably a traitor amongst the fated ones. That Sybil is probably residing within one of them. Which is why it's like, okay, Sybil does not have a lot of power, so it's probably hiding inside one of them until it can get the power of the design force.
I hated how that gets resolved.
Oh, we'll talk about that. Trust me, that is the biggest issue with that whole thing. But yeah, so that sets up a plot point for the entire show. It's like, all right, which fated one or which destined one is Sybil inside? And so we keep going. We have now fight Senka, and then we get to the Akina Hikari fight, in which for the entire season, Hikari Prime has been upset with Akina, and we didn't know why. By the end of this fight, we now know the real reason she entered the Destined Showdown was because she feels as if Akina has no purpose. Like, everything he does is for other people. He doesn't have anything he wants for himself. So she enters to effectively get the wish of, I want him to think about something else besides me, because of her grief and guilt that he spent effectively most of his life just specifically catering to her and trying to help her and protect her. As she then learns about what happened in the Fated Clash. Because that's something that also doesn't get really told. Like, she knows about what happened in the Fated Clash.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, no one, like, really talks about that. So that's a plot point that just kind of gets lost in everything. And it's pretty important, too, because once she wins, both the Fated ones and the Destined ones are tied. So they need to have a tiebreaker match. Current Hikari Prime says, you know what, I'll go again, and I'll win because I'm pretty sure I can do it. And everybody's like, you know what, fine, fair, go ahead. And then while the Fated ones are trying to figure out what to do, Akina's like, you know what, I'll try and run back again. And then out of nowhere, here comes future Hikari back from the wherever she was, and says, you know what, I'll take on the last slot. So we have an effective mirror match, puns completely intended, between future Hikari and Hikari Prime using future Liel Immorta, and Liel Ordium in a 2-part storyline in which we find out that no, future Hikari did not disappear. For reasons we don't know yet, she just didn't disappear. She just became unconscious because she was just very heavily drained. So thus Taizo finds her and gives all the information about what happened in the entire Destined Showdown. And so she just kind of waits and watches. And, well, we get to hear, which is, yeah. Also, someone pointed out, which is kind of hilarious, is that technically because she was found after the Destined Showdown started, she missed Suo's fight. So Suo's fight was the only one she did not watch.
Yeah.
Which is even funnier considering how much she did not like him.
I don't know, maybe like Taizo gave her the phone footage.
I mean, like, she was there in person for everything else. So it's just even funnier. I was like, oh, she just quite literally missed his fights.
Like at some point, I feel like Atkins gotta just wonder, Taizo, where's my sister?
Oh, don't say that. The implications of
Because
you
for some
saying
strange reason, whenever the timeline has to shift,
that.
it always goes back to Taizo.
We're gonna find out like he's like a descendant of Chrono or Luna or something. It's like
It's like, oh, in the Doom timeline, oh, Taizo was just the only one that wasn't there for some convenient reason. She goes back in time. Oh, Taizo. She dies and comes back. Oh, Taizo.
Yeah. Something's up with this brother, I gotta say. It's like the entire quite literally it's hilarious. Like when you think about like the entire plot goes south if the entire plot matters if Taizo was just there to save a literal child's future version. It actually is just like he actually might be the singularity in this timeline for real.
Now's filler episode in season 1 hinges entirely on Taizo being the only one with the car.
I mean, not just that. I mean, not only just that, it also hinges on, him being there and actually building a connection with those characters so that he's willing to drive them there.
Right.
Like, it is really, the entire plot cannot continue if Taizo doesn't show up. Like, he is ironically the most important character in the show.
Yeah.
And all he has to do is just be there at the right place and right time.
And he just is.
So, yeah, so they have that fight. And Fuji Hikari wins by the skin of her teeth. Because her deck sucks compared to Leo Odium. And so we finally have it. The Fated Ones have won. And as Sybil is ready to gather all the design force, Jinky and Masanori, who, by the way, I completely forgot to mention that, the Jinky Masanori fight reveals that Jinky's brother, who was mentioned in Will Dress, was actually Masanori's actual real rival, and he hasn't been the same since he died. So so his wish the entire time was hinted at in season 1 when he fought Shinobu about Taboo. Masanori's wish is revealed to actually be to bring back Jinky's older brother.
Yep. And then they also reveal Masanori's entire reason for doing the things he does isn't entirely because he hates people. It's because he wants to see them push to their limit and, I don't know, get stronger, see what happens.
He effectively is just a messed up version of the actual main like a goal of will dress of like, oh, I actually want people to push themselves to the limit in anything they do because it's kind of like a
Right.
distorted version of what was his name? Shingo Shigi's wish of having the
Yeah.
ultimate Vanguard fight. So effectively is like it basically means he picked up uh a grieving college student and said, "Hey, you want to play some card games?" It's the same reason why he was freaky in that hot springs with Yu. I don't know what that has to do with anything. But
Eh,
but that was something. That was like the one blemish on the entire record. And Mikoto, but outside of that, like it does make sense. But because of what's about to happen in the chronological story right now, it also ironically kind of makes his story just feel lamer. Because while Jinky and Masanori set up a trap to keep Sybil there from using Design Force, the big reveal of the plot twist of there's a traitor is surprisingly Future Ikari. Future Ikari becomes possessed by Sybil and grabs the Design Force and actually fully gets their true form back.
it's so dumb.
Because the real plot twist requires this moment. The plot twist is that 10 years ago, Sybil came down, when Sybil originally came down from Cray, he found himself in the body of Hikari. He possessed Hikari. But because the transfer was not completed, because of a missing card in which he used to transfer his body, he could not actually take complete control of Hikari, and thus he's been eating at her life force ever since to make sure he sustains himself.
I can't get over how silly it is.
Which means when Akina used his wish to make Hikari Prime better, he inadvertently killed the Sybil in this timeline. Meaning, not to mention, with the reveal of that comes with the logic of, oh, so if Sybil was in Hikari, that means future Hikari had Sybil when everyone else died. And the card he needed was actually with Now the entire time. So either because he could not find Now's card in the future, or that Now's the card itself was destroyed in the blast that killed everyone else,
Yeah.
he could not complete himself. Meaning he then used the new Fated Clash to then go back in time and in a convoluted way managed to reform himself.
A lot of this plot I feel like also hinges on like Akina just never like bringing Hikari to Now at any point.
Which is no, it's actually funnier because it hinges on not just that, it also hinges on, no, that doesn't work, because technically the card is with Now, isn't it? When they go to her tournament,
Yeah.
it's not really like the card is there. They know it's there. He could have taken it over back then. But I can only assume the thing is like, well, I still want the Design Force because it's been so long. I don't actually have power, so I need the Design Force. So he couldn't fully turn into what he needed to be, which is the only thing I can see. It. I don't know whether to call this plot twist so brilliant it's dumb or so dumb it's brilliant. Or just dumb.
I feel like it borders on just dumb. But that's almost entirely because the writers like consider like Future Ikari the like best thing they've ever done in Vanguard. Like they're all just patting themselves in the back. And they're like, we gotta keep writing this out.
Uh, Again, probably not entirely that, but at least in dress, without a doubt, probably the best storyline.
They started just patting themselves on the back so hard for Future Ikari in season 1. They're like,
I think
we got to keep using this character.
I think you talked about having rewrites, right? I think this is like the one time I could be like, this is probably the closest we got to a real rewrite.
Probably, yeah.
Because it now kind of makes a lot of things make almost no sense in retrospective. For example, Kuon, like the way Kuon acts is just is very much a red herring now. It's like oh, Kuon's acting weird. He's being all secretive. He's talking. He's all now this. Oh, I know all about you. Instead of he's saying this weird, like mastermindy or like kind of like snake. Kind of like what was those like characters? It was like they like know it all, but they're like secretly hiding something.
Right.
I guess kind of like a Yamato from Naruto. Not Yamato. What's his name? The Kabuto from Naruto. Wow, that's a tongue twister. It's like I noticed this, and I'm gonna speak, the soft voice, and like, haha, I know about you. I know more about you than you think. I know everybody from there pretty much. And it's like you just wonder, like, okay, is it because he's siblings? Is it because he's secretly thing? Then it's also like the idea of like, oh, what if? Then we also kind of like went with the people we're talking about. Oh, what if he's actually been Masanori? Sybil's been Masanori this whole time.
Nah, look, it should have been Akina.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's like, then what if it's actually Akina this whole time?
That literally would have been like the most logical twist.
Like all three of those twists were actually really interesting and compelling when you think about it, because if it's Kuon, well, yeah, it makes sense. It would make sense it's Kuon. If it's Akina, that also makes sense. If it's Masadori, it arguably recontextualizes the entire rest of the season of the series, and it's like, oh, has this been some sort of weird long con? But no, it was Future Ikari, and I think the only reason I can say what happens next is what happens is because of two things.
If you think about it, it could have just been now.
That's also another.
We could have made this like a way less. They could have made it like way less complicated.
That's also the funny thing. Oh, sorry. That's also the funny thing. Like, for what they do, it could have just been now the whole time. It really could have just been. We could have cut like a lot of this out. It's just like, oh no, Future Ikari is just sick.
I think they just wanted the double whammy.
I can only guess so too, because
it's like, haha, Akina, I've taken over both your sister and your waifu. Yeah.
I guess so, because I mean, let's talk about it. Like, it's not as if like it's a secret, but it's like it really is. Like, if there's like two characters in the franchise that have been this big, like actual as big as like some of like the famous Vanguard waifus, it is now and Future Ikari, and to a lesser extent Ikari Prime. Right? It's like they're basically like head waifu tier at this point. And it's like, I feel like that's also another thing. It's like I feel like Bushiroad when they saw season one, how people react to Hikari, and now they were like, we gotta use them again. We gotta use them somehow.
They saw the dollar signs.
I mean, yeah. I mean, they literally made a whole new design for now. They brought back Future Hikari, even when it's like you somehow managed to bring it out to somehow give a reason why she's back, even though she shouldn't be. You saw her go disappear, and it had been months. So unless she quite literally, like, was asleep uninterrupted in that little hole she was in for 2-3 months, for like a good month. I don't know how else she makes it.
Kaizo Ex Machina.
So it very much is like, yeah, no, it really does come off as like, yeah, it really does feel like they wanted, by the end they were like, we could, I know the joke is kind of like, I think I don't think it was actually directly said. It was like, I guess you could make the joke as like, different fight began this. It's different fight's fault, because now basically became like his new like favorite character, and since he is effectively the franchise, the big content creator of the entire like franchise in English at least.
If
Like,
Different Fight had any power, Tomari would be way too elevated as a main character.
I mean, I'm just saying. I think just like the joke. That's the joke. The joke is like, now became like immediately like so big, and it's like, oh, the one of the biggest Vanguard content creators likes her. A lot of people like her. A lot of people like Future Ikari. What if we somehow brought them both plot relevance into the story?
I mean, people just don't want to see the obvious part.
Which is,
It's Kai and Aichi, but straight. They made Femme Kai and said roll with it, and it worked.
oh my god.
Yeah.
I that is kind of funny when you think about it. It's like, oh, that actually does kind of work.
They just took Kaichi and said, let's just flip one of the genders.
uh, I mean, I guess so. Yeah, that makes more sense. Okay, so yeah, so now, uh, I mean, at this point, Sybil now. I'm trying to figure out how to transition into this. It's like, Sybil takes over now and becomes a now alter, in which she wears pants instead of, what does she wear, like shorts, kind of like compression shorts. And she wears pants, still has the midriff, it has on way more clothes, and the community said, yes, we will now be degenerates. Proving once again, you can wear more clothes and be more light. You don't have to be just booty out, titties out all the time. You could just
Aren't
have
you wanted by a Sailor Blade?
That is not. Shut up.
I
To be fair, her main design is just her in a full bodysuit. Okay. Anyway, speaking of it's getting close to the Nikkei's second anniversary. I need you to lock in. I need that stream,
No.
sir.
I'm not playing Nikkei.
You will. but we'll talk about that at a different time. Anyway, so Sybil then goes back to the place where the entire incident happens, rebuilds it with psychic powers, I guess. And here's the real big issue with this plot twist is one, it does kind of come, like you said, it comes off like they wanted to have now be effectively the cornerstone of the IP, be given like a bunch of new artwork, new sleeves and whatnot, because every time she has been on a sleeve or a right, like we have the numbers, right? Her sleeve, along with anyone related to, connected to her, such as like Senka, sold out immediately. Yuna is a cute. Keep in mind, Makoto is an idol, and Yuna is a literal, like, girl, like effectively a goth girl, like a goth like, what is it like? She wears goth like clothing and wields a cat girl.
Yeah.
And they sold out less than Now and Senka. They sold out like in less time than Now and Senka did.
I mean, Senka has some Misaki bonus.
That too. But it's like they also were connected together, right? They're childhood friends.
Yeah.
Right? There's like so much about that like rapport that actually works, but it's very much is that. And then guess what happens when the Evil Now sleeves going on sale? They also sold out almost like 2 days in like a day. Like, not to mention her energy generator almost single-handedly revived the Japanese tournament scene. Not revive, more so like it was good, but it basically like grew it exponentially. Yeah, it gave a second wind to the tournament scene. Like, that's how like popular she is. If they were to release,
like I have some more stuff to say about Bushroad's Now fixation after we finish up the season.
Yeah, but the point is like Now is very popular, so it comes off like they, there's a criticism. Like I think people have seen it if you follow the Vanguard fandom. Like you've seen the criticism about like Now feels like she was just used to be because they wanted to just kind of use her for money.
It's criticism that's like 80% from like one person. Let's be fair.
True, but I'm starting to see like they probably were right. Because the second part is that Kuon's entire character becomes a hot mess. Because if Kuon was actually Sybil this whole time, it makes sense. It's like, because like by the time the entire thing comes off, he's the only one of the destined ones that's still within like the poisoning. Because Rai's like Taizo's secretary gets eliminated, Yuna gets eliminated, Hikari takes 3 episodes to get eliminated, Jinky was never poisoned, and Senka gets eliminated. He was the only one left. So it's like that's prime time to really. Oh yeah, no, he was Kuon the entire time. Like, why on earth does he transfer schools when he's like this big, like he's this very very like big like well known thing? Like then they start off by saying, "Homie wrote a paper." He wrote a paper. He wrote a paper about travel to Earth and Crane. Like, he is smarter than that school. But he transferred there.
Look, I'm sure Keon's entire story arc is like there's gonna be a bit piece at the end of like season 4
Kilma,
of
that's
this,
it. That's
where
his
like
name, Kilma.
there's gonna be like a Chrono cameo, faceless,
Well,
and we're just gonna be like ha ha,
no,
and then we're
but
all gonna clap, and then we're all just gonna clap like in 2026, like oh my god, they did the thing.
no, but it's like Kilma. That was Taizo's secretary name, Kilma. But yeah, Kuon basically gets no development for 9 episodes, and we finally
Yeah,
get him in a flashback, and he almost feels like not even the same character as he is now. Obviously, he won't because he grew up, but it's like he goes from was like he's this goofy child, right? If anything, he comes out the most stable out of every character, with the exception of now in the entire like roster that was there at that school camp. Which also that school camp, why is everyone faded one and like the two destined ones that matter at that school camp, at that gosh dang summer camp? What is going on?
I yeah, there's no justification for that one.
Like, okay, that's cool, but why on earth is it why, like, I can get Taizo being like a camp counselor, right? He might be used. He's
Sure,
like,
high school.
I can use. It's my family summer camp, and plus I can use it for college, right? I can buy. Obviously Akina and Kari being together makes sense, right? They have to be together.
Yep, yep.
I can even
That'll
take Kuon and Suo together, right? Why on earth is not only now there, but for some reason, Mikoto there? Like, I really did miss out on my potential memes of being like, oh, Mikoto is like that blood thinking on the team meme, where it's like, why are you here? What? It's like,
Mikoto is the bench warmer.
it's like, it really is just like, bro, every character from season 1 plus thing. Like, I was so scared because I was upset that they were going to reveal that Suo's family was killed by Sibyl or something, and it's like, oh no.
I remember when like people were joking about Masanori being the bus driver.
No, I did the perfect one, which I did get that meme off of like, oh, what is it gonna be next? Masanori is a camp counselor, and I just showed a picture of Chris McClane from Total Drama Island. It's like, if we eat the same thing. Okay, campers, today we're going. But it very much is like, oh my goodness, it was so contrived, and it's like, oh, Akina just forgot because the trauma, I'm assuming, which again, fair. It was 10 years ago. You're already dealing with like having a separated family.
Everyone forgot Mikoto.
Yeah, everyone forgot Mikoto. Everyone forgot each other except for Kuon and Suo because they were buddies until Suo got traumatized by.
Like they were actually friends prior.
Yeah, they were friends prior, and then Suo got traumatized. He's like, I don't even know or care who you are.
Mikoto's entire role in that flashback. I sit on the bus next to now.
No, her entire role was to be like, I know this is to explain why she also has a icky feeling about Masanori. Because they just found him picking weeds in the forest.
As monks do.
But it's like she knew back then. It's like, this man give me the creeps. You need to get out of here. Ain't no. So it's just it's a lot. It's like, oh boy. So it's like now it's like recontextualizing Kuon is just it is it, the idea is supposed to be like, well, now it recontextualizes Kuon is like, oh, he's doing all this weird stuff because like, oh, he's just a know-it-all. He just did all the research, but it's like, how do you know one? How would you know this about literally a child known as like Hikari? Why would you know all of this for all of these people? You don't even know. Yuna doesn't even isn't even a real person until episode 5, and you know more about her than the audience did. What? Which probably that episode was good though. I'm not gonna lie. That was probably like the one time like the one episode really did work for each character for her directly. That wasn't like a returning character. But the point is supposed to be like Kuon just comes off like his entire like end goal was rewritten out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Which is mostly messed up because it's like I like looking at the lore, it's like it really does feel like that was the whole now becomes evil plan was the goal. Because I read it and I'm just like, okay, which I want to kind of go on a rant about the lore a little bit later. We got to go into it.
I feel like something definitely happened where like they were debating whether or not to push like rescuing now entirely to season 3. It's like, I feel like what they wanted to do initially.
I mean, because it's like I will say like this. It is very much like they definitely had to have done it early enough where it doesn't feel like it was a complete like implosion of the story. Like say,
Right, but like it was still like a debate, right? Where it's like, okay, we have like Kuon like moving that's like the villain for like the end for like season 2, and then like all of season, and then like we'll do a now becomes evil. That's like a plot hook for like, the next season. And we'll do like 13 episodes of that.
I I feel like probably like two things happened. Was like probably like halfway through season 1, they were like, we could actually do something different here, and like actually make like now be the antagonist here. That way we get more money. We bring back Future Ikari. We have a reason to support Leo Lamorta besides just Leo Odium. Bam, we've got it there, and then also I think a particular character coming back also probably changed their decisions too. Being able to come back probably also changed a path too. So it's like, you know what, we probably could do that one, but we probably just do this one instead. So it definitely was early enough where they could change it, where it doesn't completely feel like the entire story just falls flat on its face, but definitely you can feel like there was something that changed.
Yeah.
And if it was the original plan, oh boy. that Anyway, the point is now Kuon, the point is to say that because Kuon, as the last remaining person under Sibyl's mind pollution, has a inner discussion with himself, and is like, no, I've probably messed up. Right, he's realizing, wait, no, I've probably messed up. I just let a demon effectively gain ultimate power. I need to stop him. And then he says one of the most insane things. Everyone's like, no, I get it. Akina, I need his fated king power. Even if I might have to, and he gets cut off. But the heavy implication, he probably might have just said, you know, even if I might have to just straight up kill him.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay, what is happening? I was like, that's a whip flash. Like, I understand death does exist in this universe, but it's like, bro, you were literally a nothing character for the entire season up until last episode where you finally showed, like, actual concern. Right. And now here you are contemplating murder? Like, we just knew your backstory last episode, And now you're saying, I've done an unspeakable thing. I might have to kill someone. Somebody gotta die so I can fix this. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa.
It is what it is.
And it's even made even hilarious because it's like, oh, here comes all the destined ones all coming to wake him out of his stupor and break the spell. And it's like, this sucks. I'm just gonna say it. This is probably the worst scene in the entire show.
Yeah, by far.
Like, because like, in the span of 10 minutes, we're to believe that Kuon has not only realized he's been played, try and break out of his own craziness, and the destined ones, who he has not really talked to, by the way,
No.
all want to help him and break him out because they have a bond. And I'm just like, no.
There's really not enough time in the show. We gotta rush it up. Finish it up. Nope.
That's why I say I'd probably say like we probably needed like two episodes extra for this season, because we needed an episode where at the very least where all the destined ones actually talk to each other. Because my God, does that scene fall so flat. Like, I understand, yeah, they're all good guys, they're all nice people, and they would care for, and I definitely could see like the points where it's like, oh, they definitely would like care for each other. But what on earth do you mean they would break him out of literal mind pollution from a plushy dinosaur?
This ones just don't work as a group because like built entirely like, you all are the nemesis to the fated ones. Oh, I'm getting a team of completely random strangers.
Wait, say it again.
They just don't they don't work for the destined ones.
Oh.
They're just a bunch of randos.
Well, their only real connection is more so. I mean, the fate. I mean, technically, the fated ones were kind of just a bunch of randos.
Yeah, but like 3 of them are from the same school, and one of them's like the main character's
mentor.
Yeah, mentor. It's like they at least have a connection.
That's true. But I feel like the issue is like we needed like a tournament episode, or at least like a beach episode, or something, anything, where it's like they just are together and actually communicate with each other to be like, yeah, we can get him out of this. But we didn't, and I think that really hurts a lot of the plot, because it's like, oh man,
it's almost too focused.
Yeah, it's like, because it's like Kuon basically gets his entire arc sped run, even though he's been there since episode 1. The Destined ones all of a sudden unite together to go fight Sibylt. To go fight Sibylt. And that's it. And he gets a new form. And Levi just gets a new form, and it's like,
neat.
it's like, cool. The deck's better. But I don't care about him. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you put him all over the promotional material. He's like the main thing. He's with Sybil. If the whole idea was for him to be a red herring, okay, that's cool. But now it means like, all right, so now I really just don't care about him, because the main focus is stopping Now, who has been possessed by a literal dragon, who has unlimited power. We need to stop that.
All right, Q1, chop it up, Q1. Main character's gotta go save the girl. Chop it up. You're done. You're not part of the show anymore.
Yeah, it really is chop like it's really is whether if that was the original plan, or they really did rewrite at some point. It really does feel like they were like, oh shoot, we forgot about Kuon. He just breaks out of it with the help of the Destined ones. They all become friends now. Bam. He gets a new form. GG's. It's like, it doesn't even work because the whole thing of him getting Levidrus doesn't work because literally not only in the whole rest of the season, but also because in the previous episode they just did that with the faded ones in Akina King the King.
Levidrus is the Dote of Divines.
Yeah, I mean,
it shows up to the final boss the job immediately.
Yeah, it's just like, bro, this can't be real. No, in fact, there's anything. If you think about it, it's actually hilarious because it's flipped from the Dote PBO thing. Because Levidrus is basically PBO, and Varga Rakshasa is practically Dote, but just the
results switch the roles.
The switch of roles, which is funny, but also come on, bro. So yeah, Kuon basically gets shafted so that we have Akina versus Now, which thematically does work. Like, I'm not gonna say it doesn't, but it's also kind of disappointing.
It's a bookend.
Yeah, it's a nice bookend, but it's also disappointing because I think also one thing is, you know, I'm just gonna probably do it here. So the biggest problem, in my opinion, with season 2 is that Sybil effectively is just a mustache trolling villain until the finale, where before he dies or gets sealed away or whatever happens to him, we learned about his backstory and that he had a friend who died and he just became evil. Now, keep in mind, that's only if you don't have any context of the card game itself.
I mean, I personally don't mind it. Like, I'm fine with that. We haven't had a mustache trolling Vanguard villain that's just pure evil in like
I know,
long.
I know, but it's like I think it just comes off as very much like we want to have an antagonist, but you know, we want to have an antagonist, but we want him to have like a purpose and a reason to do it. Not just, you know, obviously we have a motive, which is like, I want everybody to, I want everybody to live by their own desires. So that's what I want to do. And it's like, that's a very good thing. But then he's like, you try and like we've been told, you killed Gabrielius' entire family.
Look,
you took over you took over 7 people here and plan to effectively brainwash the entire world, and we were supposed to feel bad about you because my best friend died.
Well, the last time we had a proper raw scumbag villain in Vanguard was freaking Gastile, alright?
I mean, fair. But here's why I think
we're owed at least one bit of silly villain, dumb villain motivation, simple stuff.
But also, like, you know, Sybil was fun. I'm not trying to say, like, Sybil wasn't fun. My point is kind of say, like, you wouldn't know what Sybil's deal was until after the show. Or even right before the finale aired. Because they decided, and this is kind of like my big rant. Season 2 has effectively needs, like, certain context to extend, like, understand, like, a few things that happens in the story. Mostly because, 1, they can't fit it all, and 2, they've always kept the Cray Earth stuff separate. But 3, they literally reveal what Sybil's actual race is in the franchise, and he's a unison dragon. And if you don't know what a unison dragon is, it's actually the same race that Andra from the Gree Andra ride line that was released in set 2 is. It is a race of dragons that have connected that connect with human hearts and are able to connect with people's hearts. Right? That's a pretty big thing to kind of leave out until the finale of the antagonist's story. To be like, what exactly are you? How do you have this weird power? Oh, well, because he's actually part of a race that was revealed earlier in the card game. But no one plays Griandra, so there's no like actual like tease of that. If someone had played like Griandra, if we had an episode where like I don't know, like Kuon fought somebody who played Griandra, and like a thing of like yeah, imagine that. Imagine if one of the episodes was just literally the Destined Ones have a cool day, and he just randomly fights somebody who has Griandra, and it's like that's a teaser to fill out who actual Sybil really is and why he has his power.
I mean, I guess, but like, it's not that important. I feel like.
I mean, no, it's not. It's not that important, but I just feel like maybe I am putting it a little too much. But it's like I feel like having that important piece of the story, not only not in the show, but like it being revealed, like literally like the day before and the literally 10 minutes after the episode airs, of like what Sybil's backstory is. In a site you have to translate because they, Lord knows, they definitely ain't update the English lore site since gosh dang Overdress. So it's just like it feels like a lot of context with Sybil is missing, and they just kind of revealed, oh yeah, he's the Unison Dragon. Well, what's the Unison Dragon? Similar thing, Griandra. Like that's the funny thing too. They hinted at what Griandra is in a couple of lore stories prior to prior to Will Dress season 2 and during Will Dress season 2. Like they hinted at what Sybil's deal is in the lore, but not the show. And I wish they had done that in the show, so that it was a little bit easier to understand. Oh wait, maybe he's a Unison Dragon that's been corrupted. This would make a lot of sense. And then people can piece that together and be like, oh, you're probably this. And something happened where you just crashed out. Like there's a lot of things you could have done instead of what you did. And I think that's the biggest thing. Or rather, like, I feel like if we just had 2 more episodes, at least one, where we just have the Destined Ones hang together, that fixes a good chunk of problems. Or even if we didn't fix that, we could have probably had an episode where we just go over Sybil's backstory. And we just have that moment, like, maybe, like, Sybil and Now have an internal discussion. And it's like, Now goes through and sees Sybil's backstory and begins to kind of understand, right? Something that at least gives her a little bit more agency in the later part of the story. That right. She isn't just like out of the story until she wakes up by a tree. Or like, I know they say like, I saw everything through Sybil, so it's like, cool, I was there, but not really. It does kind of come across like I really wish they had done a little bit more.
Huh. Run that back again? I'm sorry, Discord's having issues again.
Oh. About, where did you start having issues?
Shoot. Oh!
Hello?
It was a lot of subs that got cut out, so I was like, wait.
The TLD R is, I wish if we had 2 episodes, at least one of those could have been either we have a whole meetup with the Destined Ones where they actually like become like connected together and like understand each other, and maybe we have a fight where somebody fights fights the Griandra player, or we have an episode where we have Now who's being possessed by Sybil, probably looking through Sybil's memories and seeing why Sybil came out the way they did. And like at least one of those episodes fixes a lot of the issues with the story to me, because man, you get the chance for the Destined Ones to finally have the rapport, which makes the scene where Kuon gets out of poisoning hit a lot better.
Right.
Or you have that moment where now goes through uh, the story of Sybil, in which you understand what a unison dragon is, why Sybil has his power, how Sybil got thing. You see the purpose, and it also gives now a lot of some agency, so that she's not just stuck there, and then she just watches the fight together, right? Maybe during the fight, or like she sees aspects of the fight itself, right? There's a lot you can do.
Right.
There's a lot that could have been done with at least one more episode, and that's kind of why I'm so kind of mentally I'm like, man, I sure wish that the Hikari subplot didn't take 3 episodes or like 2.5.
Yeah. No, you're
Like as good as that story is still, because it's still probably one of the best like segments of the show. The fact that it takes effectively 2.5 episodes to conclude, effectively 3 to conclude, while everyone else got one, is very much. It almost feels like a weird favoritism thing. I understand one episode's for Akina Hikari Prime, one episode's for Future Hikari Prime, and the third one's the wrap up of that and the reveal of what the heck Hikari's deal has been the entire time. But it also
yeah.
kind of goes back to the whole thing of, well, we didn't need to do the whole Sybil spinning Future Hikari this whole time thing.
It's
then,
against
right?
priorities.
Yeah, it's like the ironically the timeline shifts if you cut out a plot, whereas now you have like an extra episode to do something.
Like you can jokingly make the point of like the Ghost of Ito came and said the clash doesn't matter, the showdown doesn't matter. Stop thinking the showdown mattered. Here's the actual thing that mattered.
The Ghost of Ito is crazy. He's not even dead.
Fine, the spirit of Ito just like started hovering over the. You get what I mean.
I get you.
It's like the thing you thought mattered doesn't matter. Stop wanting the big card game showdown thing. Here's the actual plot. Here's the character stuff. Stop wanting Vanguard and Vanguard.
Stop wanting the thing the show's named of and the thing the show's named of.
And that's why If is a really good season. Animation issues aside.
Yep.
And you can take the card game out of the card game anime and still tell a story about the card game.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah. So basically, Kuon gets beat for the sake of having Varga Rakshasa have a win. Then we have
we can't debut two new bosses in one fight.
no, we can debut a whole new card in which the biggest the reveal also is like, well, the card now's catchphrase is supposed to be from a card she really likes. And turns out that card was Gabelius, who she's had the entire time because it actually is hilariously, effectively a Hexa Orb card. It is an OTT card basically, and then gets a alternate effect to work with the faded ones like Raziel and Liel. It pulls out a effect I was behind to win the game, which is Akina just sacks an additional crit.
Yeah.
Oh boy. For the record, we still like season 2.
I mean,
I know like the past like 30 minutes or so has just been us like pointing out the heavy flaws.
Cheesy. I like it as a cheesy season, if that makes any sense. Like it's cliched for like the finale and how it goes about things. But we've kind of needed a cliched Vanguard season.
I guess. But I say this more so because being critical doesn't mean we hate something, right? It just
Right.
means we love something. We want to see it
There's
improve
some
in the future.
flaws.
Yeah, there's some flaws, right? Again, despite everything we say, like I still think the finale, Gabelius jokes aside, is still a really good conclusion to this entire like storyline, right?
Right.
It's like Gabelius.
And like,
I think my favorite scene is the last scene, which is like, well, how does Hyushi Hikari, or I guess we use her name now, her real name now, Erica. How does Erica really survive despite the fact she doesn't have Gabelius inside? Not.
one thing I really like about the finale fight was like that completely out of pocket, like rant Sybil made about like Akina's actual motives for doing this entire thing.
Yeah.
Because Sybil was kind of right.
I mean, I think that's the point. Sybil was right, but I think Akina knew he was right. It's like, yeah, you're right. Even so, I'll figure that out later. Right now, I still need to beat you. I
Because
said,
I don't know if like this, I don't know if like the subs like being a little loose with the translation. At the point where he's like, mine now, where you're like, huh, Sybil was right. This might actually just be some personal self-validation thing you gotta work around, dude.
yeah,
I'm like, there's something there that you gotta work out.
yeah. Well, the long and short of it is very much like I still think I think the whole conclusion with Gabelius is actually really good. It's like, well, I
Hmm.
have nothing. I did my goal. I stopped Sybil. I did everything. All I need to do, the only thing that's left is to either go home. I don't really have a home though, but I did. When you came over and when you came from the future to protect, your friend, your brother. I realized even if I still did you wrong, even if it wasn't me, right, the current me, I still did you wrong. So I want to at least give you something. And
Functionally speaking, both their roads are dead, so they may as well just live in the one that isn't.
yeah, that's true. I guess that works. Yeah, it's like you know what, we'll use each other and kind of just live in this world.
All his friends are dead, her timeline's dead, functionally dead. May as well just stay in the one place that's still around. For now. Who
Hmm.
knows what happens after this?
Yeah, I mean, it does imply like he could potentially come back one day, but
Hmm.
the implications of that. Oh God, the artwork.
Yeah.
Like to say I was not expecting a day later to see Mpreg Hikari. I just ruined the entire vibe of the thing. I'm sorry. Why did I say that? On that note, we can just kind of go to the end thing. Like the final scene was still like insanely well animated as like a cathartic ending, and then the reveal of Taizo's being invited to go to another deluxe. You know who else has been invited? The one, the only.
Michiru.
Yep, Michiru is
And you know what
back from his coma.
so here's that thing I wanted to mention, right?
Yep, go ahead. Floor's yours.
Them writing, they're setting it up so hard that like, oh, turns out the reason now is so good and so important is because Michiru was her sensei.
Yes.
And so Akina's big goal now for the next two seasons of Divines, sir, you gotta now beat your master's master.
Yes. You must beat Poochie's Poochie.
Your
what a
final goal.
also the only way also it's like, well, now we probably assume that Michiru is back. That means there's probably gonna be a few characters that come back. And this is going to be probably like the weirdest. This is going to be the weirdest. Oh, the old characters return. The fan base will probably deal with, because let's be kind of honest here. I'm pretty sure most of the dress cast is not as well received as how the OG cast was by the time we got to their
Yeah.
main returns in G. Like
No,
literally,
you're right.
I went on Facebook and so said, "Oh, great! The mids are returning! Yay!" And it's like,
Like,
oh boy, here we go.
and then there's a problem that them confirming that the dress server has four. I mean, DivineZ getting 4 total seasons. Means we have to have like 2 seasons of deluxe, or they're going to do like some big twist at the end of season 3 to go to a proper season 4.
Yeah, I really do want them to actually. I would really love is like the deluxe just actually matters, please, please,
No, no, no.
please.
We've been over this too many times.
I think the other.
No.
So I think there's like one more thing about it is, are we getting Yu back?
Ooh.
Because if anything, if this is gonna, if we're still in the dress era, and we've already had a storyline in which the characters of all dealt with it, have done their own like individual story. Now will be usually like the G next, where it's like now would be like the old characters return, including the old main character, and they have their long awaited like match, right? I say long awaited, as if people were like people are actually awaiting Yu to return. Like, no offense to Yu, that's my son, but come on, bro.
I
Like,
mean, there's a small contingent of people that just wanted Yu to be Sybil, just so they can get that Subi Yu design from that one card that's clearly based off an idea that got like rewritten. You know the one.
the the small contingent or the actual artwork.
That one, yeah, that like the actual art for like that evil Yu like alt art.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah, that's everyone's like, oh man, we're gonna finally get it.
That would have been something too. I feel like that could have been a good plot twist. Is like, oh, Sybil loses but still survives, and then just happens to find Yu in the forest or something. It's like, you're my new body. What? So that could have been an idea for like a storyline, very much.
Like, I don't want Yu to return, but whatever. It'll be like last episode fan service.
I mean, the thing is like, I think the problem is that I think the difference between like when Aichi came back and when Yu came back, or Yu presumably comes back, is that right now, like I think the fan base is still traumatized from how Wildress ended.
Right.
So very much is, while seeing Yu might be cool, the problem is that when he left off like he basically got kicked away. Like he was basically kicked out his own show. Like he was like, it very much was like, yeah, it very much was like, you just compare like how the DivineZ cast compared to like the dress cast have been like
Received.
received, and it's like they're making a lot of merchandise for the dress cast. They made a whole different design for now being possessed by the big bad. They made, right, they did a DSR for now, despite the fact she didn't get a regular one already. Right? They pulled out all the stops for all of our characters for all these characters, right? The amount
Yep.
of right, literally a mat for Vanguard Day is just going to be Akina and Suo. It's just an Akina and Suo mat. The Vanguard Day. That's a pretty big thing, right? Vanguard Day is funny because like it's a bunch of like locals based events, but
Mm-hmm.
they're all just so happen to be in the DivineZ era, where they have characters people want to actually go to locals for now, and it's like, oh, okay. Like I can still feel like if you're a really big fan of, like, I don't know how to, I'm trying to figure out how to say this. If you're a fan of the dress characters over the DivineZ characters, and it's like you're watching is like every single piece of uh all this like rollout of all this like insanely cool stuff doesn't have your favorite characters in, and everyone's like gassing up these characters, you just feel kind of lost. Whereas like it's like, yeah, you've got Megami, you've got Taizo, you've got Masanori, but like if if you weren't fine with any of those characters, but you're like a Leonore fan, you're a Raika fan, you're a Tamari fan, a Zaxa fan. Oh, Zaxa fans, I feel sorry for y'all. Y'all ain't got nothing.
Like, yeah.
Like Jinky fans are just lucky they decided to actually use him for this season. But it's like
I feel like Zaxa got like wasted. Like he's also part of the victims of the rewrites.
like I can only tell if you're a Donji fan and you had to go through all of Wildress hearing how much he sucks.
I mean, Overdrive season 2 opened with so Donji kind of sucks.
I mean, yeah, but
I mean, okay, no, that's the whole season of Donji kind of sucks actually.
yeah, but I think the problem is like, well, Donji kind of sucks, but there is a chance that he, oh, I don't know, like, becomes better as a person, and then Wildress season,
Oh,
and then second episode of Wildress is he gets kicked out to to United States.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
I remember like talking about like character reception, like the dress characters.
Oh yes, yeah. So I think it's like very much like if you were a Donji fan who was like, still riding for your boy, and then Wildress season one just kind of kicks him out, and then season two turns into like this weird like secret agent, and then Wildress season three just also goes, yeah, Donji kind of sucks, and it's like, well, I just got ran around for 2 seasons and then into nothing.
I feel like the dress seasons had this like problem where like they keep trying to mythologize like some of these characters and just like always flounders.
I mean, the five
Like
pros.
like season 1 was like, oh my gosh, Sanji's the greatest, the king of Vanguard, yada yada yada, the greatest guy ever. Then season 2 was like, wait, no, Danji sucks. Mirai's actually Vanguard Jesus. Then like Wildress, it's like, wait. Actually, the real Vanguard Messiah was
Is me.
this Michiru guy.
Yep. And in
And they were
season
like, wait. Actually, it turns out everything hinges on Zaxa actually being the Vanguard Uber psychic Superman. And it's like, stop.
I don't think I got that part from
Like
Zaxa.
the uniforms, like they hadn't repeated like Zaxa had like psychic powers, so like he was like super important for like the uniform's plan for some reason because of his psychic powers and whatnot.
Well, I think the idea was more like supposed to be like, well, Zaxa is going to be like the linchpin of, right? It's like we want Zaxa for. I don't even know. No, they didn't even want Zaxa. They just only took Zaxa because he was a trade off from Array, and he just so happened to be the strongest character in the verse. And it unlocked like very much. Oh yeah, you're probably the strongest character in the entire series, secretly.
Right.
It's like no one
I
can
never
beat you.
like
The fact that
it.
he actually just straight up beats Yu. He actually just straight up beats Yu, and it's like, oh, that's it. You just actually just straight up like beat the entire, like kind of like he just also becomes Ryuga, where it's like he just beats the entire like franchise. He just beats everybody. Like
Right.
he actually could probably have taken down uh Guy by himself if he wanted to. But because they're
I'm pretty sure they wanted to say at some point that Zoxat's like quality, but they're like, ooh, let's not use that word here.
or at least not yet.
Right.
I mean, but it's like it's just so weird because it's like, man, it is kind of like when you think about it, it's just like, dang, when did he? I'm trying to think of when did he actually lose? And I think the only times he lost was when he was caught off guard. Right? Like every time Zaxa lost, he knew exactly what his opponent was doing. He just got caught off guard at points. Right? He's very much calm and collected, but it's like he just gets caught off guard. So the one time he does actually basically like, yeah, no, I know everything at this point.
Like
Like
if
what
you only count on-screen losses, twice to Masanori and then like once to Yu.
yeah. No, he didn't lose to Masanori. I thought he lost to not Masanori in season 1. I thought who he fought was no. You're right. It was to Masanori because Megami fought
There,
Toya.
there were like two fights.
Yeah, because Megami fought Toya. That's right.
Yeah.
Masanori got the run back.
Yep.
It is pretty interesting to kind of think about that. So, yeah. Um. So, overall thoughts on Divine Season 2?
Uh, a pretty good end to Divines. I'm glad Divines is over and they're moving on to a whole new cast. Everything got resolved. You know, it was a little season was like a little cheesy, a little played out, but overall, you know what? Sucked the landing. I'm glad Divines is over.
you, you
I have no
joking.
more. I have no more. I have no more for this joke.
Yeah, I'm like, this joke is over, buddy.
I know.
I know it only relies on something you said an hour ago.
We'll come back to this conversation after Divine season 3. Like, yeah, no, Divine should have ended there.
I mean, I don't think it's gonna be like that. I mean, we could probably season 4, and it's like, well, that just turned into nothing. But I say not season 3. I want to see what they do with season 3 first, which is cautiously optimistic because I think they have heard a lot of the feedback of Will Dress season 1 and kind of like, hey, we kind of wanted to see these fights happen.
My biggest worry is that it's going to be dry. It's like my biggest worry for season 3.
I mean, I would like if we like legitimately got like a good
If
villain.
if we get, like my worst is just going to be like a playing out actual like just played out tournament arc, and it's just going to be super dry.
Hmm.
Then we all know Akina kind of has to win the tournament so he can like accomplish whole like my one own like goal for myself kind of deal.
I mean, I don't know. They literally had again, Vanguard D2 literally had a whole new character created just for that season, for that manga, only for him to scrub out top for him to not make top 8. No, did he not make top 8? Hold on. Give me just a second. All right, let me see here. What did happen to? Please tell me the wiki actually has the details. Um, no, that is for season 2. Gosh dang, I thought it was for season 2. That's for. I need D2. The power to dream. Let me see. Top 8. Yeah, he scrubs out of top 8 because he fights Taizo, who ends up
I mean,
being.
I'm willing to be proven wrong, but
Because it's like you don't have to actually win it. It's just like, I don't know. There's a lot of ways it could go. I'm cautiously optimistic. I don't know what they're gonna do because it's like,
I mean, I guess a better question is like, who's going to be Mirai's first victim out of the DivineZ cast?
I'm just gonna
Because
say
someone's got to scrub out the Mirai.
it's gonna be Mikoto. If she gets an invite. I don't know if she's gonna get an invite.
Honestly, it would be pretty funny if, like, after all this time hyping Taizo up, he's just out right at the start.
I mean, he got second place. Got second place in the second deluxe.
Right.
He only lost to Raika, which I think that made a lot of sense because it's like, hey, that's.
I mean, if everyone's lucky, like you just went to Australia for that during the time of that entire tournament.
I mean, I'm re-looking at who was in the top 8. I'm just like, it's funny because you say Australia, but that's exactly where Toya went at the end of Wildress season 3, and
Oh yeah, it
he's
is.
in the tournament.
Maybe you just hang out in Jamaica.
out there with a out there with Xenomorph. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on my conclusion, I think Divine season 2 is not as strong as season 1, mainly because of the obvious Vanguard issue of there's not enough time to tell the a. I feel like there's not enough time to tell a big enough story with all these characters, and so some of them just kind of get fumbled. But unlike when this has happened before, this is probably the best iteration of which this has happened. So in the end, it definitely comes down to it manages to kind of make it out okay. So that's my
Mm.
overall that's my overall thoughts on Divine season 2. It makes it out better than I thought it was going to, cuz it was looking pretty dicey there near the end. Now comes the final part. What is our over what is your overall ranking of both Divine season 1 and season 2
Uh, like where
in
they
the
ranked
in
among
the
other seasons.
in the dress era? Yes.
I mean, as far as in the dress era, in that bubble, I would put them like probably like top 2 seasons.
I see.
But that's most because like they lack the baggage of like it's like the problem with like Wildress, right? Like it still has that like carry on like issues. And like they never got like a full like rebound. The Vines had like a strong start, and for the most part carried that strong start in season 2. Mostly.
Okay, I see. Uh, I say Divine Season 1 is still. I don't know whether to. I don't know if. I'm still to this day kind of not entirely sure. But right now, I say it is still not better than Overdress Season 2 for me. I think it is Divine Season 1. I think it's Overdress Season 2 into Divine Season 1 as like my top 2 dress era shows. Seasons.
Mm.
I just think a lot of the main story of Overdress Season 2 does a lot to pay off Overdress Season 1 and has probably one of my favorite moments in the entire like franchise. Like that scene where Donji Murray have that discussion is still the best scene, probably one of the top 10 scenes in the franchise.
I feel you.
So it's just like I can't. Meanwhile, Divines didn't have like Divines had a lot of good like emotional stuff, but it's like nothing has hit as hard as that scene to me yet. It's gotten close, but it's just like not yet. So
Right.
that's my thoughts.
I know, I can see it.
Yeah, so I think as for season 2, I think it is definitely like probably like in the mid range, probably like the higher mid range, like probably close to like Wildress season 1. Because Wildress season 1's only real flaws that the top 8 gets completely skipped out on. But like outside of that, like it's still pretty solid season. So
Honestly, props to Wildress season 1 for just introducing all those new characters and doing nothing with any of them. Sort of like Taizo, like a few, like 3 seasons later.
yeah,
That was crazy.
like, at least Taizo like legitimately got like something. It's like he
Like we talk about the Destined ones like being irrelevant. Wildress is like,
yeah we
yeah,
just
none of these people matter.
yeah it's like yeah we just introduced 5 6 pro players. They will
Like
all not make top 8 except one, and that is the one that we're gonna
10
use
new.
again 2 seasons
It's
later,
like
3 seasons later.
it's like what 10 or 11 new characters. Only 3 of them matter.
It was more like 9, 9, not I think like 8 or 9, not including Jinky.
Right. Like we're not including drinking in like yeah, 9 new characters. Only 3 of them matter.
Mm-hmm. Uh, yeah, right. Well, actually, 3 of them matter, and 4 of them only get like an actual like story event in a future season that actually is worth a damn. Like,
Yeah.
man, Gojo, Dad Gojo is a key part, and now is in the episode where now both kind of begins her path back to being a pro, and the episode where Senka is revealed.
I feel like Dad Gojo was just living proof pandering. Like I even want to say now is different from pandering. Dad Gojo was for proof.
Oh, I was like, wait, it's like pandering. Oh, you meant proof? I was like, oh, it's like, huh? It's like, oh, You mean the
Yeah,
dude
like
that ain't made a video in 2 years?
yeah, like here's a dad Vanguard character who's like who has too much, not enough time on his hands. Like, look at him go pro. Isn't that great?
We love you, Proof. By the way, it's all love here, buddy. If you watch this, if you somehow make it all the way to the end of this video and watch this, then yeah, it's cool, buddy. But so yeah, despite taking 3 hours to actually do this thing, because I'm just looking at the time, it's been 3 hours. I think we finally made it through DivineZ. Oh
Yeah.
boy. I think what's funny is like even though we took like a 10-minute break somewhere on there, we still took almost 3 hours to get here. 10-minute break and a bunch of tangents aside, we made it.
The side tangents are a net improvement.
Yeah, I think that's what happens when we actually want to talk about something we want to talk about. Because, oh boy, let me tell you, that last podcast I did with that Zenborg dude, we did not know, I can guarantee we did not give a damn what we were talking about in those things anymore. By the end, like, now I'm pretty sure, we probably would have had something to say, like, man, Magic the Gathering turned to a dumpster fire when we were gone. Man,
Ooh,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
let's save other card games for later.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's better we just kind of close it here because 3 hours, and I'm gonna have to edit out those moments. So, thank you guys so much for tuning in for this inaugural episode or whatever for a podcast with no name right now, or basically the DivineZ Spoilercast. Please let us know what we can improve on. For the record, I wish we could improve on length, and desperately, I already know getting like an overall better involvement with the visuals is another thing too. If it goes on YouTube and whatnot, I apologize because man,
It's a process.
I just didn't have time to really like clean up a lot of things, so I apologize. Other than that, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitch or on Blue Sky at Zeta Zephyr VT.
Not on Twitter.
What's Twitter?
I see.
I'm done with Twitter, man.
Well, on that note, you can find me on YouTube. The place you're on right now, or if you're listening to this at some potential podcast site. I don't know what I was gonna say. You can find me on YouTube at Zexwing.
It's time for Apple Podcast.
You can find this show wherever podcasts are. I guess I don't know. Again, this is episode 1 of Who Knows What Could Happen. But you can find me on Blue Sky, and you can find me on Blue Sky at see, this is how I know I'm already like not used to Blue Sky. I don't even know what I am.
Isn't your handle currently having issues on Blue Sky?
My handle?
It says like invalid handle.
Well, anyway, you can find me at.
Oh no! It got fixed. Never mind.
Okay, well, that's weird. You can find me on Zexwing or Zex on Blue Sky. You can see a picture of Galliard from Vanguard, the Vanguard Turnabout manga, as my profile picture, at least right now at the time of this recording. You can find me on Twitter at RedFangZex. Please do not follow me because I am done with this site. And yeah, that's basically it. Again, thank you so much for showing up. We have no outro.
Nope.
See y'all
I'm gonna disappear right now.
See y'all in a week or two. I don't know when we're gonna do another episode.
Whenever.
Probably that one will be about like I don't know, Requiem for Vengeance or something for Gundam. I don't know.
Probably, yeah.
Might even twist it out and be like, you know what? We're gonna have an impromptu discussion on Voltron Legendary Defender or something. I don't know.
Oh hell no, I'm out. Bye.
All right, peace out, y'all. Bye.